everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today this is my plan with me video for my February bullet journal layout. So this month I decided to do The Princess and the Frog, keeping with the Disney theme. However, I'm going to lean into the villain more with this one because I just think Dr. Facilier is one of the best written villains in the Disney canon. In fact, I think The Princess and the Frog is one of the most underrated Disney movies of all time. It's also like extra special to me because it was the last 2D Disney movie that was made and I really miss that art style. So as you can see, I'm just kind of laying down some backgrounds here. So the black is for the first page, that's going to be kind of my title page. And then pretty much what I'm doing here is you can see where I've cut the bullet journal. So essentially what I'm going to do is paint brown on both sides to make it look like a table, and then the weekly layouts are going to actually be Dr. Facilier's deck of cards that he has. I'm sorry that I don't have footage of me cutting it out. I was actually working on this while I had a lecture going on in the background and I hadn't figured out how to have the notebook close enough to the edge of my desk, which is why there's a bit of a blur at the side there because I finally set it up, but I didn't quite realize I didn't push the camera far enough away. I'm really excited for this monthly layout. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I do have a couple things that I might change. For now, just to kind of get that wood texture, I was just working with some brown acrylic and then adding in a little bit of black and white. Normally when I work with acrylic, especially on this paper, I end up doing a couple coats, especially for the black. I wanted it to be like a nice solid black, so I had to go over it. But in this case, I think the white showing through actually added to the texture, so I worked with that quite a bit. In terms of cutting the cards out, it wasn't too bad, especially around the edges. It was a little bit tricky to get in near the spine. I was kind of inspired by this idea by a video that Plant-Based Bride has done, which I will link above, but I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to cut the pages out that were actually at the spine. I actually ended up nicking one of the string bindings, which I was a little bit worried about. I think the notebook is well enough made that it's not going to fall apart, but I'm a little concerned that it might. Once I got the brown down, I'm not too worried about covering everything because I'm going to be adding some paper and things to just kind of look like there's stuff lying on the desk. I started to work on trying to mix a color for this card, and the background of the card is actually like a magenta. And if you don't know this, because they lied to you in elementary school, red, yellow, and blue aren't actually the primary colors. I'm pretty sure it's like yellow, cyan, and magenta, which are the three colors that your printer uses. So you can't really mix magenta. Especially too, I have a very difficult time mixing purple because the blue that I have is so dark. So the back of the cards, I was originally going to paint one of the images from the cards, but I decided it was too complicated, so I was just going to put another quote there. So this is essentially me trying to use up all of my botched magenta attempts in order to cover up the back of this card. So you can see I'm just kind of going back and forth with some different shades of pink and purple to cover that up. Once I got that done, I went back to the front page and I drew in this mask that is supposed to look like the mask that Dr. Facilier ends up wearing, and I'm kind of painting it in. I did just draw this on with chalk, which kind of works really well because it cleans up really easy, and I've had issues in the past where if you work with pencil and then you do acrylic over it, basically the acrylic will seal the pencil underneath and you can't erase it. So unless you put enough layers of paint on it, that's still going to be showing through. Afterwards, I just added in some eyes, and then there you can see I was rubbing away kind of the February chalk just so that it didn't end up tinting the color of my paint. And I kind of worked with this neon green to put the font in. This time I just kind of stylized the font, just kind of made it up as I went along, really. I really love working with fonts, so that doesn't really deter me too much. Usually in the past, what I've done is I've actually matched font to match the title of the movie, but since I was going a little bit rogue with this one, I thought I would just go with it and see what happened. So next after this is probably what was the most complicated part, which is drawing the actual detailed design that is on the front of the cards that Dr. Facilier uses. And this was very tricky. It was a lot more time consuming than I thought it was going to be, so I'm kind of glad that I decided not to do the full image on the back of the cards as well, as I think that would have taken me a ton of time. In terms of painting in this notebook, this is an Archer and Olive notebook that I'm using. It's one of their square ones. I'm really happy with the square shape, but also this notebook has held up really well. When I was cutting out the paper, I was surprised at how thick it is, and I was also really worried that I was going to warp the pages too much by painting it, which I don't normally mind with like my sketchbooks that I carry around, but something like a planner, I don't want it to become this big puffy thing that's difficult to have on me all the time. But no matter how many layers of paint I seemed to put on this, as long as I sealed it up with the elastic afterwards, it seemed to hold up pretty well. I'm not over the moon with the way that these hands turned out, especially some of the thumbs on the side of the hand at the bottom is a little bit wonky looking, but the rectangle that I did around them I pretty much freehanded, and I actually managed to keep the curves on the corners looking pretty similar, so I was pretty happy with that. After that, I'm just working with some brown craft paper to kind of put on the table surface to make it look like there's kind of different things that he has lying around. I might go back and add a little bit more. I was thinking particularly the talisman that he uses in the spell might be something interesting to kind of add to it, just to like hint a little bit more to the film itself. I feel like this is a very niche bullet journal layout where you have to be kind of a big Disney fan in order to get the gist of it. This craft paper that I'm laying out too is also going to be used for my monthly to-do list. So now I'm just going back, and now that that first layer is dried on the card, I can add in some of the finer details. The gold Sharpie I was using here didn't quite pick up the way that I wanted it to. I'm wondering if maybe I should have done white paint underneath it. I've also been looking for like a really good set of metallic paints, so if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. But yeah, I was a little disappointed. It's hard to see in general, and it's even harder to see when you look at the video that I have here. So after this, I'm just working to put together my quotes. So there's going to be one on the back here and then one on that sheet of craft paper on the right hand side. So the one that I went with for the back is the cards will tell the past, the present, and the future as well, which is from the song Friends on the Other Side. I thought that was fitting considering the cards are telling everything that I'm doing this month. And then the other one is from Dig a Little Deeper, which is when you find out who you are, you find out what you need, which I think is really important and just a good message to keep with you, because Tiana is so focused on getting everything done that she's not necessarily taking time to think about who she is as a person. So it's always good to check in, even when you're doing things you love, to make sure you're not working yourself to the bone. After that, I decided that I wanted to go back and add a couple more touches to the page just because the mask didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to, and to maybe hint a little bit more at what the actual theme is. So I added in these gold frog silhouettes with crowns and the stars, of course, for Evangeline and Ray. But yes, they're my favorite, those two characters, and when he just likes to rip your heart out at the end with the way that film ends, but I'm going to keep quiet and stay away from spoilers. After this, I'm just going in, and basically what I'm doing is on the left-hand side, I'm doing my days of the week, and then on the right, I'm doing a task list. I'm not putting in the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing on my task list, just because I don't think I need to know what day I did it on, as long as it got done. So that's everything. I'm just going to do a final flip through here. So this is the title page that I put together. I'm really happy with how solid that black came out. My monthly to-do list on the left-hand side, so those are for overarching tasks that I'm going to use. And then this deck of cards that opens up to have all of my weekly to-dos with things that are scheduled on a day on the left-hand side and general tasks on the right-hand side. I managed to not get paint on those pages. And then we have the two quote layouts and then just some other little paper that I left. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, and I will see you next time.